All right, welcome back to another presenter for this online clinic weekend. Coach Klee is here. He has his own YouTube channel. He's defense coordinator, been a head coach, been coaching for a while. He's here to present the enemy of us offensive guys, which is defensive stuff, I guess. That's the enemy of us. But he's here to present some 3-4 stuff.
Just recently finished up being a head coach here for the past 4 years, and just kind of one of those things that got a lot of messages. It's time to different people, different things from my family. So going back to defensive coordinator will be at the 8-man level, and going to talk about some pattern match coverages today. Something that I think there's sometimes some misconceptions about. I'm by no means like the Patterson, TCU. So a lot of too high stuff primarily. A little bit of influence. Jerry Gordon had an underfront, and what he does with coverages was influenced by that some. Still interact. So I'll get the presenting going because that's what you're all here for. Go that way. There we go. And get this full screen still. Yeah, Pat, we totally believe in. Was formerly head coach at the for the Coloma Comets. For 4 years, ended up being with after a couple coaching changes as I was head coach, ended up having to have the defensive backs, and by and large, this has been how we've done our coverage for all 10 of the years that I was there. Really believe in it. Just a couple of philosophical things that guide us into pattern match coverage. Why when I was working for the head coach, Joe Stevens, that I was working for, why I bought into and believed what he wanted to do defensively. Defense must play with all 11 defenders, in my opinion. You got to cover the field horizontally and account for vertical threats. Your student athletes, your players are going to be best when they have clear keys with simple yet sound reads based off those keys. And the reactions are clear for those guys based off those keys. Simplicity allows defenders to play fast, attack downhill, quickly defeat blocks, and pursue the ball carrier. And playing fast stresses what Coach Steve was talking about. It stresses the execution of the offense. A linebacker that fills his gap faster, you're not going to be able to hang on a double team as long. A corner who triggers because he's playing match up and he's coming to the flats. That's forcing that wide receiver to have to block a little bit longer and more aggressively because that corner is triggering now. So some coverage philosophy that is the reason we believe in pattern match stuff. Cover 3, I think I always joke with people, cover 3 covers everything but stops nothing. And I don't know if that's completely true, but it does feel that way at times. It does have the ultimate, true cover 3 provides a post safety and it's protecting the middle of the field. And that's a strength of it. Cover 2 allows defenses to be very aggressive in the flats. Both cover 3 and cover 2, however, can struggle against 4 verticals. If you're playing true old-fashioned cover 3, cover 2, cover 4, strength is it matches 4 verticals really well. You got 4 DBs sitting there. They're on top of the routes. They got whatever leverage you want. Typically inside is what we prefer, but that can be weak against some formations that you get 2 split receivers. Some throws to the flats, you're asking the outside linebacker to cover way too much room, and you're also thinning the box out and getting the box to 5 guys, and that's not good if a team is a balanced running team, especially if the quarterback gets involved in the run game. You're outnumbered in the box. Cover 1, whether that's what version of cover 1 that is, I'll refer to as robber a little bit in this, or cover 0 man is at times necessary with wide splits. You can't necessarily help each other and play a true zone. But you're limited by the ability of your defenders when you're playing against that certain concepts, and then obviously just matchups. So why we pattern match? We use split field pattern match coverages because it allows us to keep better leverage against both formations, and then especially the post snap routes that come out of that. I really think we spend, at least we've spent a ton of time. Really, probably the reason we're pattern match, maybe more than anything, is we feel we're going to adjust to a formation, get lined up, that we're going to defend the run better. And it just, that's I guess the biggest reason we end up doing it. Ultimately, most of the time, if we get a bunch of verticals, we're going to have what in the end is a cover 4 match against verticals or against crossing concepts. Let the linebackers sort out the short stuff, and we're going to make sure we don't get beat by that deep route. However, something presents itself to the flats, the linebacker can't get there, the corner is going to trigger, and we're going to be cover 2, and we'll get to some diagrams about that very, very shortly here. Something our corners have really, really loved. And then lastly, we get into 2 back sets. We can be cover 1 or cover 0. It depends on the receiver splits and how much we're expecting our linebackers to help out. Obviously, if our linebackers are going, we're typically cover 0, and you really only need one linebacker matching the running back. If our linebackers aren't going, we end up sort of having cover 1 where we can bracket a slot receiver / tight end. So basic idea when we call our pattern match coverage, we're counting the number of detached receivers. So 0 detached receivers, we're going to be, we've called it combo in the past. It's a true cover 2. 1 detached receiver, we're going to be, I will probably accidentally refer to it as white, but ultimately we're playing cover 1 or cover 0. Again, it depends on if the linebackers helping out. 2 detached receivers, I will accidentally say green. Ultimately, it's palms or 2 read. A lot of coaches refer to it as that. And then lastly, 3 detached receivers, we can make the choice to play it with just straight cover 4, or if we want to be aggressive, we know a team's going to either run the ball where we want some safety support, we would check to a sky coverage, or if things like bubble and other routes to the flats are happening, we'll go with cloud / corner support. One thing that stays consistent, and if someone ever wants, if you ever want to learn more about this, there's a video on my YouTube channel. You can hit me up at Coach Klee on Twitter, and I'll gladly talk about this. Our linebacker rules really don't change much within the coverages. We, the only time a outside linebacker, if somebody comes empty and goes 4 verts, we might ask outside. Have a little bit of help from the corner safety, but by and large, our linebackers, regardless of the pass coverage called, their rules end up being the same. 2-3-2. They ultimately need to match the second receiver from the sideline and the third receiver. If someone put formation in the boundary, so to speak, I guess. That's ultimately what this is screen clip from. Receiver, there'd be another receiver out wider. You're ultimately getting your key from him. He pushes out to the flats. That's your guy. Linebackers, DBs cover receivers and verticals. Linebackers cover running backs. We have at least one somewhere that typically can match up with the running backs that we see on our schedule. Most of the time, at least one, if not 2 of our linebackers are running backs. Starting running backs, a different question, but typically they are our running back type guys. So that's not a bad matchup for us. The Will linebacker there, he's matching the third receiver. He's going to play underneath and ultimately wants to make sure he does the number 3 receiver right into the path of the free safety there. And then we typically call the outside linebacker the boundary. That's the Bob there. An example of verts with a swing. And then on the other side, same overall idea. We need to match the final 2-3-2. If this was doubles, that running back is the third receiver in. He pushes out. As he pushes out, the thing that I think is a little bit challenging about pattern match that takes a little bit of time to teach you guys. Well, he's the second receiver sideline now. If I am the outside linebacker, that is the route I need to go match. And I'm going to yell cross, cross, cross. Cross, come. That middle linebacker was keying the number 3. He's out right away. Quick communication of push, push, push. Start working your way that way. You get crosser going, crosser coming. The third receiver in the match is the original crosser from the left side. So we got 2 is matched by the final number 2 is matched by what we call our stud linebacker. The final number 3 our Mac or Mike linebacker, whatever you call that. And then the final number 2 to the left side is matched by the left linebacker, Will. So first couple clips coming up here. Cover 2, ultimately, we are calling it because there's 0 detached receivers. You got a nub. Typically, we're going to do it out of a balance set. And then up here in Michigan, we saw 3 full house T teams. That's probably our number 1 coverage, or at least it has been in that situation. Ultimately, when we check to that, the safety is playing inside to outside and high to low. Meanwhile, the corner is going to be playing outside and low. And ultimately, the safety and corner, they're matching up high and low. The safety 8 to 10 yards deep, inside shaded of typically the number 2 is a tight end when we're going to be calling this. And matching, again, the first route that is inside and up. And then the corner, he's aligned in 5x5 outside of that number 1. He's matching the first route that's outside or low. So could be a double wing team, could be a full house T. Ultimately, there's no detached receivers. Most offenses, they're coming out in that they're going to run the ball, right? So we need to be able to match 11 potential block, all 11 guys playing football, 10 blockers and 1 running back, 9 blockers and a fake by the quarterback, which sometimes is good as a block. We need to be able to match that with numbers, and that's the biggest reason we're checking into that in most downs, distances, situations. First clip. So we're making our combo call. We're going to be cover 2 to both sides. Safeties are keying the tight ends. Corners are safeties are tight ends to near back. They're looking for who goes high between those routes. Corners are seeing through the tight end, but they're primarily keying their near back. Again, they're looking for the guy who is lower in the route. Pay attention to the bottom side of the screen here. And then also one thing that you'll see emphasized on this clip, it's 4th and 8 here. So it's one of those things, a big thing about coverage is making sure your kids know down and distance. The box is still concerned with their run because like T teams, we joke around like trap. If you're in a pass rush situation, like trap on 4th and 8, as dumb as that is, like that's something that we've seen a T team do, and it's popped for a first down on occasion. So the box is concerned primarily with run / containing the quarterback, and we truly only are going to end up with 4 guys in coverage. I think 1 linebacker sniffs out, 1 inside linebacker sniffs out its pass here. The thing about this down and distance, you tell that corner, you're trying to bait them to throw the low route. So right now, clearly, tight end's releasing. He's up and in. Safety's off the screen right now. He's got good leverage on him. He's matching it. The corner saw both guys are releasing. He's going to drop, and while he's responsible for this low route, this arrow coming, we want to bait him into throwing that, especially on 4th and 8. So we're going to drop and play halfway in between. Ultimately, the tight end is running a corner route or flag route, whatever you want to call it. We want to play underneath that, so we convince the quarterback he's got to dump it off here. And corner darn near, and that kid was an all-state track athlete. If he would have picked that would have went to the house. But end zone view of this lets you see safety's great. He is making sure. Now, a post could happen, but you don't know that the other, like our safety is not looking at the other tight end. And that's something, if you're pattern matching split safety, like you are always kind of deathly afraid of the post, I guess, is sort of your philosophy. Like, you understand I can't be beat across my face as the safety here, because I don't know the other safety's helping. There's nothing saying that other tight end isn't also running a corner route. So the safety's patient. He waits right as that tight end flips his hips. He flips his hips. He's keeping his horizontal stem, and he's on top. Meanwhile, the corner baited the quarterback and dumping it off short. He breaks on that ball hard. And even though he doesn't get the interception, he's in great position. If that ball gets completed, he's going to be able to tackle that outside hip. And we got pursuit out of an inside linebacker. We'll have pursuit out of both the safeties. We're going to have 4 guys with a chance to tackle that guy before he gets the 8 yards he needs for the first down. So there's a pattern match example, hard cover 2. Lots of T-film in here, just because that's primarily when we're in this coverage. Great play, both teams, really. Just better execution on our guys. So what you got here, he's keying through. The tight end is being keyed by the safety. And you got the same thing going on the other side. Right here, number 44, tight end. Come from that block. We know we can get any deep route left out of this back releasing. We can get it double teamed. The corner would play into the play here. And the safety, meanwhile, he's just going to sit patient. He's playing on top and inside. And this is also a game plan thing. Us and Delton Kellogg had 6 years of, I think the point differential over a 5-year, I think a 6-year stretch ended up being something ridiculous, like 4 points. Like, we would each beat each other by 1 score year after year after year. We know this running back, I think he's a junior. We know he's their best player, and they're trying to get one last score to win the game. We get their best player double teamed on that post route. Good inside leverage by the safety. Good outside leverage by the corner. As the ball's in the air, you see the corner undercut it, gets a tip. We make a good play. We'll make this the last one of our cover 2. Corner staring at the safety. Safety staring at the tight end. Is he the first up? Yep, that's my guy. Quarterback throws it blindly, and we get a little bit of an interception. That safety, pretty good ball player, very intuitive. Also played quarterback for us. Ended up being an NAIA player. Skip ahead here some and get to. Okay, so the next check we make is, we've called it weight in the past. You could call it man, solo, whatever you want to call it, but ultimately it's cover 1 or cover 0 against one detached receiver. The part that would make it cover 0 is ultimately the tight ends. Cover 1, potentially the tight end side. We might get some linebacker help on that tight end. So we're ultimately playing man coverage because the split between the receivers gets too wide. And we believe strongly in playing man coverage at times, just because it takes away a lot of the quick game. If you play inside leverage man coverage, really the only routes that the offense can still throw is either a quick out or a fade. And we coach our guys, hey, we want to see that fade. We're going to teach you how to turn, run with it. Keep your outside hip on the inside hip of the receiver and make a play on the ball. So again, both the safety and corner would be in man-to-man. Safety depends on down and distance, but we want to be at least 8 yards and a little bit inside shaded of the tight end. We used to be 2 yards inside. We kind of turned to more of a just shade on his outside of his shade, so that way you are on his inside shoulder, I guess is what I wanted to say there. And then corners, most of our guys like to press, kind of joke with those guys a little bit and call names / hey, I thought you're a tough guy. Why aren't you pressing? So most of those guys like to come up and press, and that's what we prefer to have those guys do. There's a couple guys that just flat out, they're more confident when they play off, but they want to be inside leverage. Coverage weakness is, outside, we're one-on-one. Deep routes, we're probably going to be one-on-one. And then any rub / crossing routes, you really got to work on those. And that might be one reason why you don't, you might game plan to not check to cover zero against certain formations. The strength, though, is we do often pair this with pressure. We'll straight up say, hey, we're in our white man-to-man coverage. We use white because it's like a t-shirt. You're sticking to them like a t-shirt is the kind of way of memorizing that. And again, corner is a secondary force on crack replace. That's something you got to work on in man coverage. I might have a couple clips of that in here. And then the safety is a primary force on crack replace. If a receiver comes down and cracks your outside linebacker, we're going to have a crack replace with the corner. And then if it's ever if we would ever be cover zero against two detached receivers and bringing pressure, we might get a double crack replace. So biggest reason, again, there's one detached receiver and the split gets too wide. So both we are on the top side, straight cover zero. Bottom side is sort of a cover one. The safety that's deeper right now is manned up on that number 2 receiver. The outside linebacker is manned up on the receivers to the top of the screen right now. And then one here on the bottom. Let me it is full screen. So straight cover zero. That is the one time we might ask, and as much as the outside linebacker is running with the vertical, that's a back out. So that's something we tell the linebackers, your job's taking care of the running back. And really, I think our corner made our outside linebacker end up missing a pick potentially there. And again, we're pairing this with pressure oftentimes. So top of the screen, stop screen, there's 1, 2, 3 receivers. So that's the cover zero side. Bottom of the screen, outside linebacker. If that running back swings flat, the outside linebacker will go with them. There is a safety off the screen that is keying the second receiver on the left side here. We got number 1 out here, 2 here. So again, the split of that, we need to, especially on the side, it's hard for the love. As much as we are bringing pressure and being aggressive here, and our safety on the top of the screen is not in a good position. Like he's got a crosser. Well, us being cover 1 to the field side, this formation, and ultimately the running back is blocking. That makes the safety on the side that ended up becoming cover 1. He's free. I'm right there. Another thing that gives cover zero some fits, sometimes bubble screens. So we 100% on the bottom of the screen here. That safety is on number 2, period. We are not trading things off. This is more, most of these clips, they're paired up with pressure. It's not a great throw by the quarterback at all. But and we could argue about the bubble technique by that kid and all that other stuff, but like our safety understands that's your guy. You got to go chase that bubble down. And he does for a 4-yard loss. Okay, what is our real pattern match? It's going to be the bulk of the presentation here is our green coverage. So it's cover 4 until it needs to be cover 2, basically. Safety's 8 to 10 yards down and distance type of situation. And we want to be 2 yards inside of number 2. And talked about it a little bit already. If you are split safety, your responsibility is to never have your face crossed. Teams are going to try and run the post when they see middle field open, and you got to understand that. Defending that post is the weakness of split safety coverage, especially you get double post. To me, though, the only way to truly beat double post if quarterback has just an arm for a cannon and is sacking it before the quarterback gets it off, just because the leverage of it gets tricky. But the corner, meanwhile, we used to be big on having him outside of number one. We've moved to being 5 to 6 yards deep and then just head up on number one. And we feel like he can get outside his responsibilities to play on top and outside. Ultimately, his thought, because the safety's so worried about the post, the corner's mindset is you are defending the corner route, which is the weakness of playing only cover two. So if we would get post and corner or post and fade, we've got the safety on the post, we got the corner on the fade. We're matching both the deep routes, and then our outside linebacker aligns in the apex of the offensive tackle and the number 2 receiver at 5 yards. And he plays what we call 2-1-3 rules. He's going to reroute number 2, push to the flat slate, possibly take number 1 on the hitch, and then control the final number 3 if we get a fast 3. We get a push call from the inside linebacker. So we're calling it primarily. We can straight up just say, hey, we're going to play our pattern read coverage. We're going to play palm/2 read to this, and we've called it green because of the school colors. But it's because there's 2 detached receivers is why our guys are checking to it if that's in the game plan. It's a split safety pattern match up zone coverage based on the release of number 2 receiver. And right here, if you could summarize pattern match all into just one slide, it's the bullet point down here. The second receiver, the number 2 receiver, can only do one of 4 things. Like, I don't believe you if you want to argue with me they can do something else than one of these 4 things in the end. They might sell you that initially it looks like they're doing something else, but in the end, one of these 4 things end up happening. You follow these rules, we should always be able to keep the leverage we want in our coverage. So number 1, release vertically. We're making a seam call. The pattern match is going to be cover 4. Both the safety and corner are going to be dropping. He could release outside immediately, and what we define as outside is the outside linebacker can't get hands on him on a reroute. He just takes off right away. The outside linebacker would have to run too much, and that would open up a slant window. That is what we would make an alert call for. And the pattern match there is going to be cover 2. Outside linebacker just lets him go, sits underneath a potential slant from number 1, and the corner is going to match him in the flat. So that outside release is the only time we're not cover 4. That we're playing cover 2, but on the fly. We see that alert call, and you're going to see that on film coming up. And then release inside. So again, think a mesh concept. Immediately goes inside. Outside linebacker would have to come up and again leave room for a potential probably like dig route behind him, drag route coming. That's a cross call. Crosser going, crosser coming. You know, most teams that run one crosser is crossing another guy somehow, some way. Maybe they're putting a post behind you, but ultimately another crosser most often is coming. And that matchup would be cover 4. Again, corner and safety going to drop off and find the remaining deep route. And then the last thing, the number 2 receiver could crack the outside linebacker. Again, the outside linebacker is between the offensive tackle and number 2. So that outside linebacker could get cracked. It's the job of the corner or safety, depending on what number 1 does. So number 1 could crack the safety. So you get double crack, replace. The corner becomes the force player on the fly. So that's the 4 things that receiver can do. So everybody, and when I say everybody, the safety, the corner, and the outside linebacker are all getting their key off the detached number 2 receiver when we are in our palms coverage. And then just some quick reminders, specifically for the corner and the safety, what their jobs are, what their mindsets are. If 2 is in the seam, you know, they're thinking both of us are going to sink and we're going to match our nearest receiver. If 2's out, the corner's going to match him. with outside leverage needs to go through the outside shoulder of number 1. That helps with potential fade out / quick out and fade, fake bubble go. It squeezes the number 1 receiver back to the safety a little bit. The safety's thinking, I might have to run and jump this vertical. Ultimately, I think one other thing that's a key coaching point that maybe makes, this could be that one nugget you're walking away from this presentation with. The key coaching point for the safety big time is make sure your eyes go first. If that guy's running a slant, you don't have to go, like, you're opening up ready to run the sideline. So, like, don't go flying out and open up the slant window. So just some quick alignments, visuals for everybody. Again, we're keying number 2. To the boundary if we got the Bob linebacker coming on a blitz, the Will linebacker, and then the Mac linebacker, he's keying number 3 for where his eyes need to go. If number push, the stud is going to take 3 if he ever goes past 2, because the stud's ultimately responsible. He's playing his 2-1-3 rules, and okay. Lighting quality is not great here. This is ultimately why you pattern match, in my opinion. You're going to see, ultimately, we're fitting inside veer here, and you're going to see everything that I just got done talking about. So the team we're going against, they're going to run inside veer to the bottom here. Outside linebacker, he's 2-1-3 guy. He's apex, the tackle, and the number 2 receiver. Actually, he's perfectly apex because tackle's about 2 or 3 yards from the hash. That receiver's 2 or 3 yards from the hash. Our safety, we've coached him to be up a little bit more than this. Our corner is a little bit outside shaded. You can see he's looking in at number 2. This is a little bit more of a run team, and ultimately by pattern matching, we are making sure we get defenders where they need to be to take away the threats that the offense gives us. So you see the 4-eye tackles the dive. Our outside linebacker, because it's a run team, he feels he needs to trigger. If we were playing a true cover 4, our outside linebacker ends up wider here. And then the fit for the quarterback, we do a great job here of our middle linebacker scraping and clean, but we are probably trailing the quarterback, and the quarterback really doesn't have to throw this bubble because he's probably a step faster than this inside linebacker. So the outside linebacker takes the quarterback. Oh, we're 2-on-2 out here. The corner pulls his trigger hard. He's working through the outside of number 1, and he gets the tackle for a 2-yard gain, which has forced the offense to execute a lot. And that's probably only a 1-yard gain or so. 2. It says 2 on the screen up top. So that's ultimately why we are pattern matching, in my opinion. That's the justification for it. It lets your defense, once the kids understand the concept, it lets your defense match the threat that's in their area. About the only coaching point, I don't love the safety's eyes. He should, as he sees the bubble go out here, his eyes are looking inside. He should be snapping his eyes here for a little fake bubble go. Okay, one thing with the philosophy of, hey, we're going to be cover 4 if number 2 is in the seam. And by in the seam, that means the outside linebacker can reroute him. You're going to give up the hitch. That's one big part of this too. So that's what these first couple clips are, is why do you want a pattern match? Not necessarily big time highlights, but they're us executing. So top of the screen, you see the outside linebacker right there. He gets hands on number 2. Now, I don't like how he actually he's perfect. This is perfect pattern match here. Reroute number 2, force him outside. To 1 sit down on a hitch, run to it. Both him and the corner are there to make the tackle. And the end zone shot is worth looking at because you get to see how we time things up with the corner. Right now, the quarterback's ear hold it and pulled his trigger. the corner was sinking until that ball comes out right there. And it's also a down and distance thing. Outside linebacker is a little bit wider because it is 3rd and 10. We can give up the hitch on 3rd and 10. And we get 2 guys rallying to the ball. What you don't want to do on 3rd and 10 is have this corner up here. This guy slips by, and your safety, who was worried about the post, is inside leverage. And that corner route on like a smash concept's wide open. So we're living with the 5-yard hitch. If we want to stop your 5-yard hitch, we're gonna jump into man. We're gonna man you up, play cover 0, cover 1. So that's something philosophically you got to be good with as a coach. Here's us alerting a bubble. Unfortunately, this team, just let it play through. That was Levi. Now Levi went inside. We do have, if you go inside, you got to make the play. And kind of impressed that kid got back up. He got hit really hard. Needless to say, they didn't run another bubble the rest of that game outside of it attaching it to veer. Okay, so now we're going to get fake bubble go to the bottom of the screen here. Corner kind of shows press, he bails out. And someone might ask, well, coach, why didn't he take the bubble? They're not throwing it. Like, there's not enough space to throw it. He realizes that. He probably peeks, and that's the other part about being pattern match. As much as we're not looking at the quarterback, I don't think he is. I think he flat out sees, like, that's not getting thrown. Our outside linebacker is pushing out to it, and we actually get this double team. So even if the corner would have triggered right here, that vertical, safety's all over it. Safety's going to be able to stay on top inside, and I don't think we see the end of the play here, but it is an incompletion. Here's us. Again, we're going to give up the hitch. No big deal. Top of the screen, both top and bottom. 3 guys should be yelling seam down here. 3 guys should be yelling seam up there. You see our middle linebacker. He's keying the 3rd receiver. Seam, because I can get my hands on it. Both outside linebackers. That inside hitch is the easier throw. We've got that taken care of, and we've got help over the top for those outside linebackers. So we're not putting force them to throw the wider hitch. Come up, we get a 2-on-1 to tackle it. Where corner misses. That's why he's a corner. Tackle opportunity, so we make sure the guy goes down. We're going to alert to the bottom here. Now, this was a little bit special game planned. This is a true DB. We normally don't do this where we have 5 true defensive backs. I think safety corner for us, and they're absolute best receivers right here. He makes a heck of a play on this bubble. You see, we get 2 guys now. Our there's no difference though. Have to get to that. Normally, the corner's in a great position. In fact, he's the kid who trips him up, and our kid that was playing inside there, Sergio's could aim at the near hip a little bit better. So that way that play isn't as close to picking up the 5 yards they need. So ideal match down here, and that's something that you can constantly coach up in your pattern match. All right, corner's going to trigger for alert right here. The outside linebacker should be underneath that potential slant. And then the safety is thinking, I might have to run wide, or I could sit and play that slant. So that slant gets double teamed, and the bubble just dies. Like, that's the way we normally coach it up. Ball's going to go to the top of the screen. Not a great reroute out of our outside linebacker. He gets hands on, but he wants to force this wider and deeper. So that way it's an easier match. Again, we're protecting the post. Our safety sits on it. So our outside linebacker does enough to disrupt it that it gives safety time to diagnose. He's able to drive on the slant, and make a pick before half. Would have been huge if we could have picked up a block or two. Funny part is that's that quarterback that's he ended up playing some college basketball, playing some pro ball over in Europe, and he got caught by an offensive guard on that. So a little bit of fun there. Bottom of the screen is a good example of why you pattern match again. All right. We are calling seam, seam, seam because the outside linebacker feels like he can cover number 2. Number 2 has not taken off to the flats immediately. He's at outside linebacker level. At worst, the quarterback throws a perfect ball and the outside linebacker's tackling it for a 5-yard gain. What's matching this correctly? So as soon as we call seam, the corner knows I should be dropping. The safety, this is also a 4th and 10 situation. So typically we're gonna get the outside linebackers wider, so they're more likely to make that seam call. They're gonna be in the window to be able to reroute potential seam by number 2. Safety's off the screen here. Both the corner and safety are dropping, and we get that route double teamed. If the corner drops a little bit more aggressively, and this is towards the end of the game, it's not a starting corner. If the corner drops a little bit more aggressively and is truly on top of the ball, he's just driving down on that and picking it. So a great example of, we want to get that. If there's only one deep route, we want to get a double team with a corner and a safety if we're calling our pattern match coverage. We want to make sure the ball gets thrown at that 4 or 5 yard route. So it's 2 read to the top of the screen. Our corner is ridiculously far off for some reason. And we do a good job. So this is kind of like a post flag type situation. So our outside linebacker doesn't do this perfectly. So outside linebacker, all right, we're getting a new number 2. The outside linebacker should push to take the post route and double team it with the safety, while the corner who makes the play here is sitting on that corner route. So again, I don't like the corner's initial alignment, especially 1st and 10. I don't know. That's really odd. I was not yet the defensive back coach, and I mean, maybe the head coach told him something before the snap. I'm not sure, but ultimately, the corner's taking the widest, deepest threat, sits on it, drives. He's on top. He's able. Okay, we got about 15 minutes here. Our next coverage, we like to still continue to be able to play the same overall rules when somebody comes out and trips. So our number 1, if we got 3 detached receivers, we are probably going to overload it and go with the cloud coverage. And let's us continue to play aggressively. Let's us still jump bubbles. You're going to see that coming up here. So the big difference on cloud, corners key in both the 2 and the 3. We are playing man-to-man on the backside. So that's, if you want to overload, you got to understand that matchup's happening. So it's got to be, you got to know that your corner is going to be able to lock that kid down and handle that kid one-on-one. Safety comes over. Our rule, I think the one big coaching point. So like if you cover up the 3rd receiver, you draw this right here. Those guys are, for all basic purpose, they're still playing our matchup coverage. Cover 4 if 1 and 2 are deep. Cover 2 if something goes out. The big difference is right here, the backside safety. He is going to align in a position that splits the weak side number 2, and I get he's number 4 to the strength. The weak side number 2 and the number 3, he's splitting those 2 guys, and he's keying 3 to 2. The free is keying 2 to 1. The corner is keying 3 to 1, and that's how we teach up our cloud coverage. Linebackers are kind of doing the same thing. Now, the MAC linebacker already knows where his number 3 is. He's the slot receiver in the trips formation. That's where his eye. Probably the one thing we would definitely be susceptible to somebody running like stick draw to cover zero situation and get our dog walk down. So that way that quick little hitter and again, it lets us continue to play aggressively. What I said, I think the most important thing about coverage is weakness. Top of this kid, fast kid, all-state track guy, Caleb, but he's like 5'7", and the receiver he's going against 4 6'5". So like that is on paper, that's a mismatch. We liked Caleb's athleticism. We knew he was going to compete. So you got to understand your sky. You're one-on-one on the backside. And the receiver, bottom line, doesn't come down with it. Caleb, it'd be nice if he was about 1 yard on top, but punches up through him. Not an easy catch. One more kind of like understand your disadvantages. Do we get it here at the end? Yeah. Oh, it's at the start. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So this is that same game. We got ultimately a nickel guy chasing around their best receiver. You got to understand your one-on-one back here is this corner. So that corner should be rolled up inside leverage and take away this obvious slant area. So again, you're one-on-one on that single side if you're clouded. And the quarterback just missed it. That should be a completion, though. All right. Here comes us. Here's why you want to cloud it. We get to play aggressively. I think that hits legal. And right there, I don't think there's helmet to helmet. Of course, I'm going to take our guy's side. Ultimately, it's that the corner's getting ready to trigger, and it is 2nd and 8. So the corner, I think, sees the outside linebacker kind of in this vision. What we should get match-wise, this safety does perfect. Backside safety, you got the final number 2. What we should be having is the inside linebacker. He gets a run fake, so that causes this window. The safety knows he needs to close that window. So again, that's a disadvantage, is the inside linebacker feels he needs to go fit the run. He could have been more patient with where that kid's faking to, because he's on the other side. But a little bit more ideal here. So we get 2 for 1, one playing underneath, one playing on top. And then this outside linebacker should be underneath that while the corner comes down. So not a perfect match, but we're matching routes big time. Aggressively. Very aggressively. Okay. Top of the screen. That corner. 3, 2, 1. 3 and 2 are coming out the block. 1 put his foot in the ground for the screen. Pull your trigger, Levi. Levi's coming down. And he's ultimately one of the 3-4 guys that gets in on the tackle. Great play by our defensive end. That's not really a coverage thing. His tackle goes out. He goes out. Almost makes the tackle himself. But ultimately, playing cloud lets our corner pull his trigger hard. Bottom of the screen here. Corner's keying 3, 2, 1. 3 and 2 are coming off with blocking to mean pull your trigger and go. The 2 safeties are going to play. If this is fake smoke and go, fake jailbreak and go, both the safeties are going to play over top. And I believe that clip's coming up soon. Corner's there, biting some ankles, 2-yard gain. Unfortunately, that's a huge hit. Extremely legal, too. So we just talked about fake jailbreak and go, fake smoke and go. End zone shot's going to give you a really good vision. So again, that screen I just showed, they're faking screen to number 1. 2 and 3 are releasing vertical. Watch number 11. I'll let it play through. Number 11 sits, patient. Boom. Nice, legal, hard, physical football play. He's underneath the kid's head. Doesn't go for a complete knockout blow. makes that kid think twice about continuing to go up and get that ball. Ideally, he drives that a little bit more and maybe gives himself a chance for a pick. But like that's all right. They got a 13-yard gain. That's the first play of the game. This team loves to go fake screen and go on the first snap of the game and try and get a quick 50, 60-yard touchdown. He made sure that doesn't happen to start the game off. Here, just ridiculous. The corners leverage is great. All right, 3, 2, 1, 3's out. Pull my trigger, be outside of everything. Our outside linebacker is a ridiculous mismatch for the number 2 receiver. Throws him to the side, goes makes the tackle pretty much by himself, and then just great team pursuit by everybody else. Our safety is probably a little far off. That's something that we addressed after this particular season, played them up a little bit more. A couple more clouds, and we'll jump to a sky here in the last. Make sure we cover that in the last minute or so here. This is with backups, I think. Yes, that safety is a backup safety right now. Fake bubble. And the kid turned around. That's why he's a backup. But he understands the coverage. He knows I'm on top of one. It's my job to make a play. He gets a hand on the ball. So let's right here, this cloud clip, and then we'll talk a little bit about sky and get the heck out of here. Corner of the top. He's keying 3, 2, 1. 2 bubbles. Goes and breaks on the ball. He knows his safety, and I don't like his safety's eyes, but his safety's matching number 1. He gets to make a play. They can go get a pick 6, big ball game. We got 5 turnovers in that ball game, and it was because our secondary is able to help out and play and make aggressive plays. Last 7 minutes here. If we don't want to overload, so you're worried about that backside one-on-one, we're straight cover 4. We call it special because our kids were used to the normal coverage was corners jump stuff, or we're man and we're manned up. But our normal coverage was we jump stuff. So like if it's empty, you're not supposed to go. He decides to go, speeds up the quarterback and lets the outside linebacker underneath it. So straight cover 4 to the bottom, we're manned. To the top, we're checked into cover 4. Again, we called that special at the time. Outside linebacker, he's responsible for the short route. If we would get 3 vertical, outside linebacker will match the second one. Corner will match the widest. Safety is going to play 3 to 2. The corner is going to play 1 to 2. That outside linebacker carries it. If something breaks off, he's got the short route. He sees the out by number 3. I don't know why the route 34. He knows I'm responsible for the widest, shortest route. Undercuts it, gets a pick, and then the last thing before we go here. So we've used Sky for 2 reasons. Number 1, the split between 1 and 2, that's too far for. Like, you need somebody setting the edge. Most teams that come out tight end wing here, we'll roll a safety down. That's what Sky means. We'll also typically go Sky support, and that this clip is a pretty good example of it. Outside linebacker, this is 4th and 10. That's why the outside linebacker doesn't pull his trigger hard. But if this was a normal rundown, outside linebacker would be helping out in the run game. We get motion. Backside safety is going to. He's going to roll down and at least. And again, it's 4th and 10 right before the half. That safety does roll down, and then it's ultimately the job. You see our corner dropping off. The play right before the half, and give you 2 more skies here. So right now they're balanced. We are in we're in white. We get that motion, sky. You see the safety rotating. And our safety right here, Kenyon, does a great job. He's keen. Our corner was toast there, and Kenyon goes and gets the ball. Really, we should have, the corner, Keep your eyes on number one, Mike. Keep your eyes on number one. We should have got that guy double teamed, but maybe we baited him into an interception. One of those players make you look better than you are as a. Zach rolled down hard. Tevin tips it. Now, I as a DB coach, especially back here, let's be on top of it, driving down at it. Tevin plays the ball, tips it. Levi gets the 4th or 5th. So, yeah, that's our pattern match coverage, what we've done. Thanks for letting me share, Coach. If anyone's got some questions out there, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter or whatever. And
No, that was great stuff. Sorry, my volume's down a little bit. That was great stuff. I love the big truck stick hits. Those were awesome. That got me going.
Oh yeah, the corners. Yeah, the corners love that stuff. The kid number 2, Levi, there, like, I mean, he's a kid. He as a Detroit Lions fan, I know you're a Bears guy. You know, he's a Dan Campbell. I will bite some kneecaps and ankles, man. Like that's who Levi was. Good dude. He was a very, very good ball player for us. Very, very tough. Loved coming up and hitting. So.
I wish we had more kids like that, but that's just that's our own problem, I guess. Yep. But no, great stuff, Coach. I appreciate you coming on to share it. It's already on YouTube, so it's going to be up there for life. People check it out. Reach out to Coach with other stuff. He will be back tomorrow to present some more stuff tomorrow.
Yep,
as
we'll talk about the big guys getting the hit sticks on pressures while the fast guys are running around and cover zero most of the time, and let's get after their asses, so to speak, with 6-7 guys in a pressure tomorrow. So,
right. Well, Coach, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, Coach Steve.